Let's talk.
Giles Brown.
There are moments when something lands on my desk and puts a big smile on my little craggy features, and my following guest has written some such book. The book is called Barrowland, the inside story of Glasgow's beloved ballroom. It's by Alison Irvine. If you don't know about the Glasgow music scene and the integral part that the ballroom, Barrowland Ballroom, plays in it, well, listen up, because you're about to be informed, enlightened, and I'm going to put a big grin on your face as well. Delighted to say that joining me live on the line is the author of Barrowland, the inside story. It's Alison Irvine. Alison, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. So, what was the spark that made you want to get this book together, to write this book about this fantastic music venue?
Well, it's like you said, it put a smile on your face seeing the book, but the idea of the project put a massive smile on my face, and doing the whole project was just an absolute joy. But the spark was, I work with a photographer and an illustrator, and we've got an artist collective, and we document mostly Glasgow. And we did a commission for the Commonwealth Games to document the cultural institutions of the East End of Glasgow, and Barrowland was one of them. And it was the tip of the iceberg when we first looked at it. So then we did another project, and then I still didn't want to leave it behind. So then I said, please, can I write some more? Can I update the original project? And it coincided with a few years after COVID. So the book's sort of post-COVID and pre-COVID, and to be honest, there's a whole nother book I could write about it. It was an absolute joy.
Because interesting enough, and please excuse me because I'm not very good at accents, you don't sound like you're a Glasgow native. So what's your connection with the greatest city in the world?
Well, I moved here 20 years ago. I moved footloose and fancy free to do an MLit in creative writing at Glasgow Uni. My granddad was born in Kilsyth, which is not far from Glasgow. So I'd always had it in my head as sort of family history. Footloose and fancy free, met my husband, who is a Glaswegian, right. And then we stayed, and 20 years later I'm still here, and I love it. It's a lovely city.
So explain a little bit about the history and why, because it is a beautiful venue, but also it is, if you like, the mother node of so many great bands that have started in Scotland and then gone on to conquer the world, basically.
Yeah, well, it started as a dance hall. So it was built in 1934, the original building, as a dance hall for some market traders that used to trade from Barrows, hence Barrowland. And so Maggie McIver, the woman who founded the market, wanted a place for her traders to have their Christmas dances. Couldn't find anywhere, so she thought, I'm going to build one myself. So she built the Barrowland Ballroom, which then became really popular. It was a dance hall. People used to come and dance there. It burned down in 1959, and it was rebuilt in 1960. And pretty much you step inside, and that's what you get today. You get the 1960s decor. Not a lot's changed. And then it kind of went dark for a period, like in the 70s. It was a roller disco. And then in 1983, Simple Minds, their management looked at it as a venue to record a kind of a video for their waterfront video. So that was filmed there, an invited audience of really excited teenagers and music fans. And then after that moment, that people thought, this is a brilliant venue, we've got to have gigs here. And then Big Country, Simple Minds, The Clash, The Cure, on and on throughout the 80s. It just became this really famous sort of hub for music.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, it could have just been bulldozed, or it could have been made into a rank cinema, as so many of the great dance halls were, because you've got that whole thing during, the 50s and the 50s, when it's the working men going out to dance, and it's all the guys from the Clyde on a Friday night with their wallets stuffed with cash, etc. And an awful lot of them do. It's kind of like that "Come Dancing" song from the Kings, isn't it? It's that whole sort of atmosphere. And the mere thought of a roller disco in Glasgow, I mean, the horror. But then it sort of establishes itself as, because it's bigger than a pub or a small club, but it's not as big as, say, a stadium per se. And it's got that sort of intimacy, hasn't it, to the act?
Yeah. It has exactly that. Its capacity is 1,900. I think back in the day it fitted much more, but obviously health and safety now. So 1,900 is the max. And I think there's no seats and it's all on the same level. So you feel like you're in this kind of community space where the bands are on the stage above you, but not that far. You could almost touch them. So there's just this lovely feeling of a shared experience that you get when you're in there. And I think that's what it feels intimate.
So, I mean, everybody talks about the filming of Simple Minds Waterfront as being, if you like, half of Glasgow claimed they were there if they were of a certain age. So, what is the Simple? I mean, does Jim Kerr know about Barrowlands? I mean, is this and suddenly you get all these like this? You describe it as a golden ticket, don't you, for these fans who can go and actually watch their heroes? Because Simple Minds are a big band at this point. So, is this the thing that sparks the rebirth of the venue, and also, who takes it over? Because obviously it's not been really used that much before.
Yeah, well, a record company called Regular Music, they spotted the potential in it, and they said, right, let's have some more gigs there. And then from then on, I mean, there's a guy there. It's on the website. There's a list of every single gig and support that's been at the Barrowland from 1983 up until now, compiled by a guy called Alec Downey. So, I mean, I'm just having a look at it now. Simple Minds, Susie and the Banshees, Aztec Camera, Level 42, The Alarm, Billy Bragg, Spear of Destiny. And then you go on into the 90s with Oasis and Radiohead, and it's just, and I think bands love playing there. So I think people, there's a band, Delamitri, they, instead of, doing a sellout show at the Hydro, for example, which is another really big Glasgow venue, they would rather play there because they love the Barrowlands. And you'll find that a lot of big bands like that.
And of course the other thing is the fact that it's kept, I mean, it's still got the floor's still there, it hasn't changed into an entertainment venue. They've still got stars above the mirror in the changing rooms, haven't they, that sort of thing. So it's old school with that sort of familiar feeling, because a lot of bands they don't know if they're playing in Mexico, in Montreal or in Macclesfield.
Yeah, it's got the stars above it. The main band dressing room is a sight to be seen. It's got mirrors around the dressing room. It's all this lovely lush wood panels, and it's got these stars that bands famously now steal. Started with the legend that David Bowie stole one and had it in his bathroom in Paris. Well, according to Billy Coyle, the crew boss, who he organises all the band's equipment going up and down the back stairs, he said he gave it to David Bowie. So that's the version I'm going with, and that's the version in the book. But anyway, they have these stars around the mirrors, which bands now nick every time they play there. So the maintenance staff have to make them, and they've got these moulds which they fill with latex spray and then put back on. Then they're nicked again. But I think that's just part of the rite of passage of playing at the Barrowlands. And it's still family owned. I think that's probably what gives it this sense of community and sort of specialness. So it's been in the same family since Maggie McIver in the 30s.
Because this is the thing, isn't it? Because a lot of venues are now, sponsored by this and sponsored by that and the other. And the other thing is, if you've ever worked in concert production, which I have on several occasions, it's chaos. It's chaos theory and crisis management at all times. But the Barrowland, it wasn't designed to be a gig venue, and so therefore the backline, which everybody always thinks is groupies running around in bikinis, and everybody, and Alice Cooper doing insane things to people. It's not like that, and there's an awful lot. There's no lifts. I was amazed. There's no lifts at Barrowland, so they've got to haul the kit up. A couple of flights of stairs.
Couple of flights of stairs. I've seen them in action. They're extraordinary guys, and they're all shapes and sizes. They work in twos, so they lug an amp up, and then they'll drop it down, and someone will put it on the stage where it needs to go. And they're sweating. But they're also having a right laugh at the same time. It's what you were saying, that there's a lot of banter, and you need to take a joke when you work there, and a lot of really hard work, but also a lot of fun. And there's a kind of a joy of working there. I mean, a job is a job, but I think there's something special about working at the Barrowland which people appreciate, and they appreciate the fact they're working there.
And looking just briefly at the book, I mean, it seems that people are in for the long run. They're not just in, it's not like a hospitality gig. I mean, and everybody feels sort of part of the team, from front of house to, the bar staff, who sometimes can be very hardworking indeed, to people doing the setup and the takedown afterwards. So it all seems to, that must be the family connection as well then.
Yeah, I think if you work there, you do feel like you're part of a family. I've actually got a job behind the bar there now because I didn't want to, want to leave. And I feel part of it, and it's lovely. But there's some of my bar staff colleagues have worked there for 26 years. And they went to their first gig, and it was mayhem. And one of them, I quoted it as a chapter title. He was like, "That was mental. I'm never going back." 26 years later, he's still there, and can reel off the names of the gigs he's seen. And you see the familiar security staff as well. So there's a husband and wife couple that have worked there for years. And I think the punters appreciate that, because if they go regularly, they see the same faces and they're welcomed. And it is like coming to a really fond favourite place. And
one of the things is, one of the things with Glasgow is that people, if you're not from Glasgow, people go, "Oh, Glasgow, dangerous town," the whole thing, and the Glaswegians like to go, "Yeah, it is a bit," because it's a big up. It's like, for example, you've been working there, but you're from the south. How do you manage? And you kind of revel in that. So, I'm living in Glasgow, but actually, I mean, one of the greatest things. It's always been a wonderful city. But it's always been welcoming. There's an old saying that my family used to say, which is a Glasgow funeral is more fun, a Glasgow wake is more fun than an Edinburgh funeral, Edinburgh wedding, excuse me.
Yes.
But the people are warm and friendly, and obviously the cultural scene there, universities, art colleges, Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Dance, it's become this much more, I suppose, user-friendly city, as it were.
It is a really friendly city, and it's a good city to be a creative person in as well. And I think there's the idea that Glaswegians are tough, and but they're softies, softies at heart, and I think that's all just part of the story that Glaswegians tell about each other. But it's a great cultural city, and I think as well, if you are an artist, if you're an aspiring musician, and you live in Glasgow, and you've got the Barrowland as a venue to aspire to play in, that's amazing. What an aspiration. And a lot of local bands do play on that Barrowland stage.
Because it's a springboard, isn't it? I mean, you just reeled off, obviously, Simple Minds, okay, they were massive, but Aztec Camera, Del Amitri, Deacon Blue, all big country, of course.
Yes.
Oasis is discovered at Barrowland, aren't they? This is the famous story that Oasis it's at Barrowland, that they're kind of discovered by Alan McGee. Is that, or am I getting my things mixed up there?
I don't know. We'll have to go away and research. I know Noel was a roadie for Inspiral Carpets. So he used to lug the gear up and down the back stairs for Inspiral Carpets. So he's very fond of the place.
And again, it's not just one style of music, as we see. I mean, everything from Aztec Camera to Level 42, and all points in between. So it is a broad church of musicians. It's not just a goth club or a metal club or whatever club. No.
No, you find your tribe in there, I think. So, since I've been working there, I've seen fans come for self-esteem. I've seen heavy metal, rock fans. I've seen country, trad music. It's all sorts of audience members, and they all bring their own kind of wish that they're going to have a good night there. Because I think the thing about a Glasgow audience, just going back to your question about Glasgow, is that they can be a tough crowd, but they can also be the absolute best crowd in the world. I'd say they are the best crowd. And I think the audience knows it can make a gig good at the Barrowlands. If the band's good and the band's connected and gives it their all, the audience will absolutely meet them. And then that's when you have that chemistry and people come out kind of sweating and euphoric and, had the best night of their lives.
Is there sort of mission? Who keeps their eye on it? Is there like a mission control?
There is.
Okay, tell me about this.
I've seen it. It's It's amazing. It's a mission control downstairs, and you can sometimes hear the pulse of the music through the walls, and you can feel the stomping of people's feet above your head. But yeah, there's lots of television screens. There's lots of people that have a really, really sharp, that they know exactly what they're doing. So it's got this atmosphere that is very laid back. You get a bit of banter, but they are really on it, and they really look after the place. Yeah, good people.
So, I mean, what do you think the future for Barrowland? I mean, people, obviously, there's been everybody goes, oh well, it's all dance music these days, and they're all on YouTube. But there is you're shaking your head. There is a music scene. There are young artists going out there who want to, be in live bands, who want to play in live, and there is an absolute place for venues like Barrowland, isn't there? Because it bridges that gap between the stadium and the pub or the open mic session.
Absolutely, yeah. But you play it when you're on the way up, and then you also play it if you are up there and you want to come back. But yeah, there's a lot of young artists. I think the woman who was the cleaner, I interviewed her, and she told me about Lewis Capaldi when he was doing his sound check, and she heard him singing, and she said to a colleague, "Who's this guy? He's got an amazing voice." And the colleague said, "Oh, it's the guy called Lewis Capaldi." And then the next time he was touring, he was at these massive stadium venues. So it's a trajectory, and it's a springboard, and a lot of. And people want to play there. So it's not just a stop on your kind of gig journey as a musician. It's a real benchmark.
Now, I once worked on a concert down here in a ballroom in Marbella when Madness were playing, okay? Madness came down and played Marbella Ballroom about 15 years ago. And we almost ran out of beer. It was that raucous. And you mentioned the Pogues at Barrowland, which must have been absolutely mayhem.
Do you know, I so wish I'd seen the Pogues back in the day, but I didn't. But I spoke to lots of people that did, and it was mayhem. It was amazing, apparently. The closest I got was I saw them recently when they, just this year actually, it was Pogues and guest artists, and that was incredible. I think that's one of the best gigs I've ever been to. It was such a joyful event, and there were at the front there was this kind of whirling swirl of lads with their bare chested that were dancing around and beer flying, and you could see the kind of passion, and you could see that the musicians were moved seeing it all in front of them, and there was a real respect for them from the audience. Drank a lot of beer. But then again, it's a culture. It's like the People's Palace, isn't it, in Glasgow? It is one of the cultural things that you don't have to have a degree in this, that, and the other. It's it is a piece of musical stroke cultural history, but it is for the people. It's not created. It's not don't touch that. It's still a living, breathing, if you like, organism of itself, and that is one of the great things about it. Yeah, somebody described it as it's Glasgow's Sistine Chapel, and I do agree with that. It's because it's for the people. The people make it. It's beloved, and the sign. We haven't talked about the sign, but there's this amazing neon sign that lights up the Gallagate, which is in the East End of Glasgow, whenever a gig's on, and it's just like a beacon. It's really and obviously that sign's quite famous and it's used elsewhere, but it's the Barrowland sign.
When you come to write this book, obviously everybody's got a story. So you're talking to everybody from the cleaning lady through to whoever. I mean, it must have been great fun to sort of compile all these stories as well.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Because I'm quite chatty and I'm quite nosy. So basically it was just like going to work to have a chat. So I would speak to people that, cleaners, maintenance staff, cloakroom staff, people who worked in the office, a woman who's worked there since 1970 and remembers the sprung floor being built. She's a descendant of Maggie McIver. So I would speak to anybody that wanted to talk to me. And gig goers as well. I spoke to some musicians because I did want to get the idea of what it's like to play on that stage, because I think that must be like nothing else. But then I also spoke to ordinary folk who have either been to one gig or 100 gigs there and wanted their stories and their journeys of how they got there as well. What their evenings, how they ended up and how they got home, that kind of thing.
Or if they got home even.
Who they went home with.
Well, yes, indeed. What are you hoping that people will, if you like, take from the book or discover from the book? I mean, or even learn?
I hope people get, even if you've never set foot in the Barrowland, I hope you get a sense of this kind of the specialness of live music and this venue, which is unique. And if you have, I hope it chimes with you. I hope you might see someone's story that chimes with your own story. And also, I did want to celebrate ordinary stories as well, because you have these big gig venues, but they're run by real people, and they're run by people like us who have jobs, who have lives, who enjoy being there, and so that sort of thing. I wanted to do an inside out look at it.
Yeah, because if you think about all like Town and Country Club down in London, all Kentish Town, all those venues have been taken over by corporations, but Barrowland is still independent. It's still welcoming, and it's not, like I said, it's not a corporate venue.
No, I had a walk around with the current managing director, who's I think he's the great grandson of Maggie McIver, and he remembers being a lad and walking around, because it's attached. I haven't talked about that. It's attached to the market below still, like right. The two run in tandem, and he's so proud of it. And he was telling me stories about being a lad, and wandering around the place, and it's essentially not changed. And his passion for it hasn't. So it's run by somebody that is taking care of it, that gets it, because I think there'd be absolute uproar from Glasgow and possibly the world if anything was to happen or to have any significant changes, because people are very possessive of it.
So if you're planning a cultural sort of 3 or 4 days in Glasgow, Barrowland, it doesn't matter who's playing, just go check it out.
Absolutely, go check it out. See, whatever's on, go.
The book is called Barrowland, the inside story of Glasgow's beloved ballroom. It is by Alison Irvine, who is speaking to you today. Alison, if people want to follow you and say lovely things to you, where can they find you online or on the socials?
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm on the socials. I'm on Facebook, Alison Irvine Author, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Blue Sky. And the artist collective that I mentioned right at the start is called Recollective, and that's our website, so you can see other work we've done there. Recollective,
is that spelled normally? Is there a K in there somewhere? Or
No, it's normal. Recollective.org.uk.
Wonderful. And you can also you can order the book via our own virtual bookstore. Go, you'll see the famous Barrowland sign there on the front cover. Click on the book and it'll be winging its way to you. The book is called Barrowland. It is by Alison Irvine. Alison, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you this morning.
Thank you, you too. Thanks for having me on.